The important thing to note here is that while in the for-profit world, the only way to scale up the organization, scale up your impact is to actually get the product in the hands of as many people as possible, which is usually called blitz scaling based on unit economics. However, people in non-profit world have found other ways to scale as well. That can be through policy intervention in making sure that a new law or a policy is formulated by a government to correct a market failure, or even getting the government to adopt your particular innovation. Then people have created public goods that are freely available for everyone to use. We believe that India needs more such non-profits that have the potential to create impact at scale. And the way to do that is to work on interventions that can act at high leverage points in the systems, and to focus on solutions that can solve the problem instead of applying a band-aid to it. Finally, the question that every nonprofit has to figure out on its journey is how do they scale the organizations? Because usually nonprofits don't have the kind of resources that a for-profit company might have. Hello, everyone. I think we can start now that everyone is here. Okay, so welcome to yet another session in the Startup Bootcamp series by Change Engine. And today we are going to speak about why this is the right time to start a non-profit. And I'll also be speaking with Ritwick, who is one of the founders in our current cohort, wherein he will share how he got started and how Change Engine has helped him on the journey. Before that, I'll quickly introduce myself. I am Shubham Bansal, and I am leading the non-profit accelerator at Change Engine. Change Engine helps young entrepreneurs who may or may not have an idea start up and work on game-changing ideas. I previously co-founded a Y-Combinator backed company called Leap Club, where we work with organic farmers and help them provide access to market. I've worked in sustainability space for over 7 years now, and I'm an engineer by training from IIT Delhi and EPFL. So one of the most common misconception that most people have about nonprofits is that they're rarely effective, and they never end up creating impact at scale. Well, that's not true. We've had nonprofits in India and globally that have found ways to create change at a systems level. And I'm going to talk about some of these nonprofits here. The important thing to note here is that while in the for-profit world, the only way to scale up the organization, scale up your impact is to actually get the product in the hands of as many people as possible, which is usually called blitz scaling based on unit economics. However, people in non-profit world have found other ways to scale as well. That can be through policy intervention in making sure that a new law or a policy is formulated by a government to correct a market failure, or even getting the government to adopt your particular innovation. Then people have created public goods that are freely available for everyone to use. So we're going to look at a couple of these case studies to highlight this point. The first example that we're going to look at is called ASAR. This stands for Annual Status of Education Report, and this was an initiative by Pratham. Pratham is one of the pioneering nonprofits in the education space in the country. What they noticed was that in early 2000s, while most children in India were enrolled in schools, there was little to no data on how well they're learning, what are they learning. And so in the lack of that data, it was almost impossible to figure out how to change the policy of the country or what new interventions are needed so that children learn better. And to overcome this, they basically designed a very low cost survey that can be taken by volunteers, wherein they go out to students and test them on basic literacy and education and numeracy skills, and map them. Today, this survey is taken by 7 lakh students across the country every year. And it has been used by government and private organizations to keep a track of how well students are learning and what all interventions are needed so that we can have children who don't only go to schools, but they're also actually learning there. The other example is of an organization called BRAC. This organization emerged out of Bangladesh, and the problem that they're trying to fix is that a lot of million households, over a million households in the world live in ultra poverty. Ultra poverty is defined as a household that has an earning of less than $2 per day, and these guys basically designed an intervention which would help ultra poor households get out of poverty. Their intervention is a mix of cash grants, upskilling people so that they can start their own small enterprise, and connecting them with local support system so that they're able to be successful at their enterprises. Through their interventions, they have seen that 2 million households in Bangladesh alone have been lifted out of ultra poverty. And their model has been adopted by national governments and 100 plus NGOs in other countries, reaching about 14 million people worldwide. Now, that is like creating change at scale. We believe that India needs more such non-profits that have the potential to create impact at scale. And the way to do that is to work on interventions that can act at high leverage points in the systems, and to focus on solutions that can solve the problem instead of applying a band-aid to it. Finally, the question that every nonprofit has to figure out on its journey is how do they scale the organizations? Because usually nonprofits don't have the kind of resources that a for-profit company might have. And we believe that this is the right time. For the first time, we have technology infrastructure in place. Things like Aadhaar, UPI, cheaper smartphones, and high internet penetration. All of this allows us to deploy solutions that were not possible, 20 years back. And these solutions can scale massively. Then, because of the successes a lot of people have got in startups over the last 10 years, a lot of these people are willing to fund innovation and take risks, and they understand that innovation takes time, money, and resources. So we have seen tech and product entrepreneurs going out into philanthropy and supporting nonprofits. So kind of innovation capital has gotten unlocked. And finally, because of you guys, people who care about social impact and want to start impactful nonprofits in the space. To catalyze all of this, Change Engine has designed ACE Impact, which is an accelerator where we will help batches of exceptional founders from top institutes in the country and work with them from idea stage through, by providing them funding and mentorship over a 6-month program. You'll go from ideation to building an MVP to piloting your product and launching the company during the entire 6 months. In our current cohort, we have 3 founders who are working on nonprofits. Ritwick is one of them, and he's with us on the call. We'll talk to him in a minute. We also have Anurag, who is an IIT Delhi alumnus. He's working on making financing for nonprofits more outcome-based and more efficient. The other co-founder in the cohort is Sonali. Sonali is a transgender rights activist and a diversity and inclusion expert. She's working on creating interventions that can help transgender people access workplaces. Let's hear from Ritwick now. Ritwick, why don't you, before you tell about what you're working on, why don't you tell a little bit about your background and the problem that you're solving, and why are you actually solving it? Like, why are you even interested in it?
Hi Shubham. Hi everyone. My name is Ritwick Shrivastav. I am building an organization to facilitate aspiring politicians to enter politics, and I want to ease the entire system of political entry. My background is that I am a trained lawyer by profession. I practiced criminal law for 2 years. Post which I started working as a LAM fellow. So LAM fellows are essentially legislative assistant to member of parliament. They work with a member of parliament for an year and a half, and they help them with legislative work. So in that 1 year in the parliament, I developed a lot of political contacts and gained a lot of knowledge about how to run elections and how to basically facilitate people into politics. As soon as my LAM fellowship ended, I started working in the Delhi election of 2020 for the BJP, and I managed 10 assemblies in the West Delhi constituency. So, despite losing all 10 of them, I developed an interest in this field, and eventually, along with the Aam Aadmi Party, moved to Uttar Pradesh to really build the Aam Aadmi Party from scratch there. And there we started working on the most grassroots type of election, which is your panchayat election. We started working on the during the Zilla Panchayat elections, and at the time Aam Aadmi Party was non-existent in Uttar Pradesh. And when the team started working, we actually ended up creating a 3 lakh strong cadre base for the Aam Aadmi Party in Uttar Pradesh. Post which, like after working for two national level parties, I started working as a professional consultant, where I worked with the Shiromani Akali Dal in Punjab, for the TDP in Andhra Pradesh, and most recently I worked in Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka for the Congress Party. Fortunately, both of them were wins. Then after that, I started managing Rahul Gandhi's brand strategy during this entire Bharat Jodo Yatra phase, and I moved on from the Congress Party as a national manager and started this organization.
Wow. So that's a lot of experience in political consultancy, helping a lot of different politicians from all the parties. Why sort of leave all of that and start working on a non-profit now?
So, in this journey of 4 or 5 years, I realized that political entry is restricted to people who are either from like a criminal background. So, you'd be surprised to know that over 40% of the member of parliaments right now are facing some sort of criminal charges, and either there are people with criminal background, or there are people with political dynasties, political legacy. So over 30% of our MPs are from a dynastic background. And if you see women, because recently the women reservation bill has gotten passed, over 55% of all women MPs and over 60% of all women MLAs are from a dynastic background. So I understood that, and essentially, like, I felt that the society, in at least the political ecosystem, could change only when fresh blood is introduced into the system, and new people like you and me feel that it is possible to get into politics. That is why I started this organization.
Interesting. So now, what broadly is your aim with your organization? What are you trying to do now?
So the aim is to basically simplify this entire process of political entry. Right now, there are a lot of risks. While someone like you and me, when we think of entering politics, the biggest risk right now is losing time, losing money. Right? We can't leave our professional jobs, well-earning jobs, and straight away dive into politics where there is no security to say. And when I talk about security, it's not only financial; it's also like your life security is at risk, right? So basically, wanting to ease this entire process,
Right.
by the organization that we are creating, we want to encourage people to get into politics by successfully celebrating the stories of self-made politicians. So I'll give you an example of, let's say, cricket. Right, in cricket, we know that a lot of people who were nowhere in life, people have come from rural backgrounds to play in IPL, and now they are in the national team.
Right.
And all when one person breaches that cycle, 10% get inspired, rather hundreds gets inspired. So bringing out those successful stories is one part. The other is empowering all aspirants through the tools, through developing a team for them, through providing mentorship to them, and also doing like an incubator of sorts, where we like ACE, where we pick meritorious politicians, aspiring politicians, and help them get the ticket in a political party.
Right. So Ritwik, like I think you started with the problem statement of making it easier to enter politics, right?
Yeah.
Now, like that seems to be a huge problem. And like, how did you go from there to identifying, okay, these are the 2 points where I want to intervene. This is how I want to intervene in the whole system. What was your process like over the last 3 to 4 months?
Okay, so firstly, I would like to thank Change Engine because they really helped me structure this entire problem statement. Uh, See, problem statement. I think for all startups and especially in the non-profit space, the problem statements are very huge, and unless you break them down into simpler portions, you won't be able to solve the problem at scale at all, right? So we did an entire value chain mapping, and as you can see from the presentation also, that is the inverted diamond. We went from a starting point and we expanded and identified 10, 20 problems that are there in the ecosystem. So money is one problem, mentorship is one problem, whether contesting independent or joining a political party is another problem, whether people will vote for me, how to get elected, how to do, what is the process of getting enrolled as a politician, how to register in the election commission. All of that there are problems. So education is a problem, data is a problem. So we basically structured all of that and decided to, we went to specifically identifying the points where we want to intervene. So
Right.
that is where we decided we want to intervene in these three spaces, and then we moved on to finding solutions for it.
Right. I remember we created a value chain where we went from, someone who might be a political aspirant, and then different stages that he needs to cross, different levels he needs to cross to
Yeah,
actually be able to contest an election. And
yeah,
then we sort of try to identify what are the barriers at that stages.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. And so, apart from this, now where are you right now vis-a-vis your idea? Is it just on paper? How far are you with the pilot? How are you thinking about it?
So initially, one or 2 months, I think we really applied ourselves. Both me along with the change engine team applied ourselves to identifying the areas where the intervention can happen. Once we narrowed down those areas, we moved on to finding solutions for it, and we decided to intervene at 3 or 4 specific points, right? So right now I am at a stage where I am creating like a pilot program. In the pilot program, we are having in terms of the encouragement stage, I am planning to start a podcast where self-made politicians can come and share their journeys, and we can share those stories across India and help people identify those stories and maybe get motivated to build their own story and build their own career into politics. And the other thing is we are trying to create a data set across states of politicians who are self-made or dynast or criminal. Right now, there is no data available. Even if I go on the web, there is nothing that tells me that XYZ is either a dynast or someone with a criminal background. So creating those profiles, creating that bio data for politicians is what we are working on right now. The other thing is once we are done creating this data, we can also do a lot of policy interventions. Policy interventions such as, let's say we create like a ease of political entry ranking for different states, right? So those political interventions will help systematize this entire notion of entry into politics, and then we can engage with stakeholders like election commission and really work this process through.
Right. So, I mean, essentially, it goes back to the point that I was trying to make across earlier, that you just don't have, like, to create an impact. You don't have to just take your invention and get it into the hands of as many people as possible. You can work
Yeah,
with, existing governments, existing systems, and make small changes there, which will have huge impact. And your data gathering piece on how many people are there, who have sort of become politicians on their own, could be one of those, when you sort of collect that data and understand what the barriers they have faced.
yeah, it is actually very similar to ASER, right? Because it's an unorganized field where we are trying to collect data, and then through policy and then through policy intervention and the reports that we take out, we want to really intervene in the system and talk to stakeholders. So it's pretty similar to that.
Right. And so I think the other thing that people sort of miss or confuse about nonprofits is that there is no accountability. How do you sort of track your goals? In a for-profit startup, you will have revenue as the number one indicator. So when you're designing your pilot now, let's say about this podcast series, how are you thinking about your metrics? What are the kind of timelines you've set for yourself therein?
So while designing this entire pilot, we set very strict timelines as to when we want to get it launched, and we had a huge round of deliberations for around 2 weeks, 3 weeks, around what the metrics of assessing whether we are successful or not is, what is the measure of success. That is very crucial, and I think all non-profits at some point in time will face that problem in understanding what the measure of success is. So let's say for the organization that runs ESSER, they want to basically improve the system where children who get primary education are also literate and are also able to do basic level of mathematics, basic level of language education, right? That the report that they are creating may not necessarily directly impact that, but through their stakeholder engagement, they are creating data sets that will eventually enable the policy makers to take into account this problem. Similarly, so that is a huge success in terms of the system. So while revenue is the easiest way to measure success, a non-profit has to set milestones for itself and has to always keep its morality into check while working, and small milestones, when you keep achieving them, you could assess the working of an NGO.
Got it. Anything else you want to highlight how your experience has been with Change Engine? Especially, I think this was the first time you sort of starting something up. You've worked in larger organizations
Yeah,
before
yeah.
this. What has been different for you? What have you gained out of the program?
See, though, so first thing, I'll be very selfish. Like, I was working as a in a proper professional consultancy, and the biggest challenge that anyone who is working in a high-paying job is financial support, right? Change Engine was instrumental in giving me that support, so that some sort, like, this idea, this germinated idea, could actually turn into something that I invest my time fully, right? So that is very important. Then there is support with technology. Like, I am a lawyer who was working as a political consultant. I do not have a tech background. So just giving me that support where we can harness the power of technology and apply it to a system where technology is otherwise not used. In the political system, technology is sparsely used, right? So applying it into that system was extremely important. So that is where Change Engine really acted as a support system. The other thing is to systematize the process of understanding the first principles. Like, for a new founder like me, there are 10 ideas, but all those 10 ideas cannot reach fruition. So just mapping it in a systematic manner and discussing it with peers and discussing it with people who have actually done it, who have actually created successful companies, really gives a lot of perspective. So that is where Change Engine really helped me frame the problem statement correctly. And the third thing, obviously, was to strategize as to what are the tactics that can be used, how to make this organization more investable, how to design a pilot, how to provide me the support to conduct these pilots. All of that is extremely important. That Change Engine helped me.
Got it. Thanks. So, like, I think one thing that I want to highlight here is that, Ritwik had deep understanding of his domain. He had spent years in it. And he is also extremely passionate about the problem that he's trying to work on. Uh, where I think we were able to bring in value is how do you apply that knowledge and combine it with the basic principles of starting up. Because, our founding team, Varun, Shailendra, me, have started companies up, we have been able to sort of help him in the process from 0 to 1. And so, we are now accepting applications for our next cohort. If you're passionate about, a particular domain or a problem statement and want to start a non-profit there, please do apply. As part of this program, you receive up to 20 lakhs in seed grant. uh, then we give you 100 plus hours of mentoring. We sit with, Ritwik, Anurag, Sonali for 3 to 4 hours in a week and work with them. We are almost like a co-founder for the next 6 months. And finally, we help you connect with domain experts, with people who can fund you, with people who have had experience in that field, so that you're able to build, lay the strong foundation for your nonprofit as you go about it. Okay. Quickly about the founding team, as I was mentioning, we are all founders and we are now backing founders. Varun was the co-founder and CTO of Aspiring Minds, and he's also co-founded FAST, which is working on reforming the science and tech policy in India. I've already introduced myself. Shailendra has had 15 plus years of product experience at companies like Make My Trip, Spinny, and he has built those products from 0 to 1. So we build a lot. So we are all builders basically, and we'll help you build your nonprofit. Who should apply? We've already covered that. If you're passionate about a problem statement and want to work full time on building a nonprofit, please do apply. Uh, we do require you to be in Delhi NCR during the for the duration of the program, so that we can work with you. And yeah, you need to be passionate about creating large scale change. Uh, I think my colleagues have already posted the link to apply. Please do that. Here's some information about the other episodes in the Startup Bootcamp series. So we have Mohit Gupta, who was earlier at Zomato, and he'll be talking about how he has went about building products and brands at companies like Make My Trip and Zomato. And finally, we will have a session by Varun on 8th of November, where he'll talk about deep tech startups, if that is something that is of interest to you. So yeah, I think we can take a few questions now.